Today we're going to be talking about two more bangers from the house of Alexandria fragrances. Of course, I'm talking about Black Panther and Zion, so stay tuned. Hey, what's going on? Hunter here and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, what I do is I make fragrance related content. So if you love fragrances, definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And also be sure to follow my fragrance Instagram page. But that is right, I have two more fragrances from the house of Alexandria. Recently did a video of two which were Forbidden Plum and Game Time, which are absolute incredible fragrances. But today I have two of probably the most popular from the house, and I cannot wait to talk about these two with you. The first one we have is actually Black Panther, which is their interpretation of Bulgari's Tiger, which is an extremely popular fragrance, but it's actually in their higher end line, so it is very expensive. So this one might be the option for you. And then of course the next one is Zion, which is their interpretation of Roja Parfum's Elysium Parfum Cologne, which is one of the most complex freshies on the entire market. If you know me, you know I love that fragrance. I actually put that in Keep 10 Fragrances for Life. That one was included. So we'll talk about how close this actually goes to the original, which I of course do have right here in my hand in the blue Parfum Cologne bottle. So yeah, we'll go over both of these. So I do actually want to mention that these were sent out for review by Alexandria Fragrances, but that will have nothing to do about my opinions about these fragrances at all. I'll keep it 100% honest with you guys. But I did actually hook you guys up with a discount code. Use code HUNTER15 to save 15% off at checkout of anything that you order from the entire website. And mind you guys though, that Black Panther sells out quite a bit. So if you want a bottle of this stuff, which you probably will, definitely do so quick because like I said, it sells out. So let's go over some information about Alexandria fragrances. So these two fragrances actually come in three different sizes, which is 30 ml, 55 ml, and the 100 ml bottle like you see in hand. As far as the retail goes, it will run you $42.99 for the 30, $62.99 for the 55, and $109.99 for the 100 ml bottle. And of course, with that extra 15% off code with Hunter15, that will save you some off of those prices as well. Now, the perfumer and owner of Alexandria Fragrances is Hani Havez. He is the creator of all of the fragrances within his entire collection, and he does a phenomenal job. So hats off to Hani for the incredible work he does with these fragrances. I do also want to show you the packaging because I gotta say, for being an inspired by house, they have the best packaging that I've seen from any other inspiration house by far. Now look at the box, at least in the 100 ml, it comes in this nice kind of a fiber white box right here with the Alexandria fragrance logo on the top. Of course, a 100 ml bottle. On the back, it actually says long hours of dedication to make a long-lasting fragrance right there in gold. And then you just pop the top like that and your fragrance is housed in there. And on the bottom, these are actually handcrafted in California, which is a nice touch. So yeah, that is the box. Now, looking at these bottles, which by the way, I love the 100 ml bottles. These just look so good on anybody's fragrance shelf. Of course, you can see also the juice inside, which is a nice touch. On the top, you have the Alexandria logo engraved into this gold cap, which is metal and very heavy. Black Panther right there on the sticker. Nothing on the bottom, nothing inside the cap, and then you do have your atomizer. But all in all, phenomenal presentation when it comes to these bottles. Let's go ahead and talk about probably the most popular within the entire house of Black Panther. And I'm telling you, people lose their mind over this fragrance. So let's spray this one to test out the atomizer. Very nice distribution. It's not really pressurized, but it actually does spray quite a bit of juice. Now with Black Panther, which is obviously an interpretation of Bulgari's Tiger, which I think retails for like $300 or so, extremely expensive. Now, I do not own a bottle of Tiger in my collection, but I do have a sample decant of it that I got before getting Black Panther in, and I fell in love with that fragrance. It's an absolute staple for like the spring and summertime, and we'll talk about this one as well. Now, the scent DNA behind Tiger is extremely simple. You have three main notes, and that's grapefruit, ambroxan, and woody notes, which is probably like a cedar wood. But that's pretty much all you need to make a phenomenal fragrance such as this. I just cannot believe how good this scent profile is. Black Panther actually copies the scent DNA to perfection. This is probably about 90% similar. When I tested them on skin and on paper, Black Panther lasted longer than Tiger, which is surprising to me because I think Tiger is known to be a pretty good performing fragrance, but Black Panther just blows it out of the water. I don't know if I mentioned, but these are actually extrait de parfums, which if you don't know, that just means the highest concentration of fragrance oils that you can use in perfumery. So these are highly concentrated stuff. Pretty much in the opening, you mostly just get grapefruit. It's a burst of a citrus, kind of fresh, juicy grapefruit note in the opening, and that's pretty much all you get for maybe about an hour or so, and still it starts to dry down into the nice kind of sharp ambroxan note. If you aren't aware, ambroxan is actually a synthetic molecule, which by the way is expensive to use in fragrances, but it's mostly known for being in like Dior Sauvage. So if you are familiar with like the Dior Sauvage DNA, it is from that ambroxan, which is usually very piercing, kind of sharp smelling, but it actually boosts the performance of fragrances a ton. And that's exactly what's helping Black Panther perform so good. Extremely modern, has a very modern masculine touch from ambroxan as well. But as you make your way into the base, you are just left with like a woody, kind of like cedar wood note. But just all in all, for being such a simple fragrance from just 3 notes, because you know, like the next fragrance we're talking about, Zion, is so complex. It has probably like 20 notes in the fragrance by itself. But just sometimes being simple and simplistic is the way to go. And that's exactly what you get with Black Panther. Yeah, to be honest with you, after now having a 100 ml bottle of this, I don't see any reason for me to go out and actually buy a bottle of Tiger at all. This one definitely fits my needs for that scent profile, and I have no reason whatsoever to get a real bottle of Tiger after having this stuff. This is honestly probably my favorite or my second favorite from the house of Alexandria fragrances. That is how much I love this stuff, and people love it for a very good reason. That's why I said this stuff sells out quite a bit. I think it was just sold out last time I checked, and I think they just restocked. So yeah, the hype is real with Black Panther. Now let's talk about Zion, which is of course, like I said, Elysium inspired by fragrance. Now let's spray this one. Same atomizer, nothing to talk about with that, but with Zion, it does capture that Elysium DNA pretty good, but it does have a difference to this one. Kind of like the same thing with the Elysium DNA, you also do have a very nice bright grapefruit in the fragrance as well. But this one has a ton more going on in the opening. You have some lime, you have some bergamot, just a ton of different citruses in the opening, even though the grapefruit is the main player as well, kind of like Black Panther, but much more complex. But even though I'm saying much more complex, doesn't necessarily mean it's the better fragrance at all. It just has a lot more going on. Now, it definitely does capture that nice, bright citrus opening that you do find in Elysium. When you spray this one and you have smelled Elysium before, you'll be reminded of Elysium right away. It definitely does carry the same DNA of this one. And by the way, Elysium is not an easy fragrance to clone. I'm telling you that right now. This is extremely hard because it is obviously extremely complex, it's magical, and it's just something so special about Elysium. And it's obviously made by Roja Dove himself, but Zion does do a very good job cloning it. Now, as Zion starts to dry down, once you get kind of away from that citrus bright opening, you are greeted with a lot of vetiver to my nose. Now, this is where it actually takes a turn from the original Elysium. This one is amped up on the vetiver a lot compared to the original. It kind of has a similarity to like Roja Parfum's vetiver, Parfum Cologne, which I do actually own as well. It's kind of like a mixture of Elysium and Roja Parfum's vetiver as it starts to dry down, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I love Roja vetiver, and I love vetiver as a note in general. Just how different it can come across. It can smell a million different ways. Smoky, grassy, earthy, wet, dry. And I just love the note of vetiver just for that alone. But you do get a burst of vetiver in here. Now the main players, to my nose at least, with Zion is that grapefruit. I do get a lot of lime as well in the opening. Vetiver, and you get a very nice salty ambergris as you're making way into the very base, which resembles the ambergris you would find in Elysium, and it's done to perfection. All in all, a fantastic version of Elysium that you will absolutely still love, even though it does have a slight difference with that vetiver dominant note, and it might not even be redundant to one another because it does take a slight different route. Now, most of the Alexandria fragrances that I've tested have absolutely been nuclear beast mode fragrances, easily lasting 12 plus hours on my skin. Zion, on the other hand, doesn't perform as good as some of the others from the house, such as Forbidden Plum, Game Time, of course Black Panther, and I do have a couple others. Zion does kind of have slightly more airy vibe to the fragrance. You get pretty good performance from Zion, maybe around 8 plus hours, so it is still above average from my testing. There's no complaints whatsoever. And even with Elysium, Elysium isn't a good performing fragrance to begin with. A lot of people complain about the performance of this fragrance, so if you're one of those people that this fragrance does not perform well on you, you can still go with Zion and it still does perform better than Elysium. So it still has that going for it, just not as good as some of the others from Alexandria. But also the thing I've come to know about Alexandria fragrances is that when they macerate and age within time, they start to perform even better. So that is an awesome thing from the house. So if you do get an Alexandria fragrance in and it's not performing the best, spray it a couple times, let it sit for maybe a month or so, come back to it, and I'm sure it'll be a beast mode fragrance after that time of sitting. Pretty much gonna do it for my overview of the hyped up Black Panther and the, of course, great Zion. Let me know down below if you've actually tried Alexandria fragrances or if you tried any of these two. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. But as always, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you guys haven't already, and I'll catch all you in the next upload. Take care, everybody.